so we finished eating, and now we have about a half of a chicken left. So I'm gonna take all the meat off and put it in a bowl, and we're gonna either have open face chicken sandwich, or we can make chicken salad out of it, or I can use the chicken for chicken pot pie during the week. So I'm gonna start by just taking what's left off and put it in here, and then the bones are gonna go right into the pot that I'm going to make the bone broth with. It's not a lot of meat on the tip of the wing here, so I'm not even gonna bother taking the meat off this. I'm just gonna put it right in there. And I'm gonna do the same thing for the other side. And then the bird should be pretty tender after you've cooked it, and it should just fall apart. And it's easier just to use your hands to do this. You can use a fork and be dainty if you want to, but I just go right into with my hands. I'm just taking the skin off because that's going to add a lot of flavor to my bone broth. And I'm just going to start separating the meat. And if I find that some of the meat is a little bit tough, sometimes you get that with the legs because they're exposed when they're cooked. There's not a lot surrounding it, so they dry out a little bit. I'm going to throw those pieces in there in for the broth. And also if I'm getting like a bit of stringy, tendons and things like that, I'm also going to throw that in there. So that looks good. I'm going to put that bone in there. So that was all the meat I could get off of that leg. So here's the wing part of and this got a lot of meat on it. So now I'm at the breast meat. I'm just pulling it away from the bone. Get the skin off here. And there is some meat underneath here too. In the smaller birds, it's hard to get that meat out. So I just leave that in there, and it adds good flavor to the broth. So I think I've picked this pretty good. Got most of the chicken that I want off. Like I said, some of it can be a little tough, so you might want to just put that in with the broth. Okay, that's pretty much it for that. So I'm going to go ahead and put this in the pot. Okay, so as I mentioned earlier, we processed our own birds this summer, so I have some chicken necks that we saved for bone broth. So I'm going to add I think it's about 6 or 7 in here, to the carcass from dinner and all the scraps and the vegetables that I already put in here. All right, so next you want to fill up each Instant Pot has a level line, a max line. So you want to fill yours if you're doing this in an Instant Pot. So you can cook this on the stove top as well. Some people cook it for 12 to 24 hours. It really depends on how gelatinous you want your broth to be. And that's basically the collagen that comes out into your bone broth. It gives it kind of a gelatin kind of consistency. So, but each Instant Pot, if you're making it in an Instant Pot, has a max line. So you want to watch that. You want to fill it up no more than that max line. I generally fill it up probably about a ½ inch below that. And that's just my preference. It's just what I find gives me enough bone broth that lasts me for the week. So I have some water here, and I'm just going to fill this up. And I may have to get some more. So I do need a little bit more. So mine is filled up to the half mark instead of the max, which is the 2/3 mark. And so I'm just going to kind of jiggle everything down. And it's almost covering completely. It doesn't have to cover completely. Obviously, depending on how much of what you have in here, that max line may cover what's in the pot, but a lot of times it's not going to. And then the last thing I'm going to add is some apple cider vinegar. And again, that helps to draw out the collagen and minerals out of the bones into your broth. And I'm going to put a tablespoon. And then we're going to put this in the Instant Pot. I'll be right back. So I've plugged the Instant Pot in, and I'm going to get it started for the bone broth. Now, depending on which Instant Pot you have, you're gonna have different options. But I always go with the broth, and the last time I used this, I had a 4-hour cook in there, but I'm not gonna cook for 4 hours. So generally, you can cook it between, sorry, I'm gonna turn that off. You're gonna cook it between 2 and 4 hours. I like the 3-hour mark. It works, I find it works best for what my desired bone broth. And you can cook it too long as well, so just keep that in mind, because I've done that before where I thought, well, if 2 hours was good, 4 hours was better, and 6 hours might even be best. That's not the case. So I cook it for 3 hours, and I cook it on high for 3 hours. So that's what I'm going to do right now. So I'm going to hit the broth, and I'm going to bring this down to 3 hours. And I want to make sure it's on high pressure. And I'm going to put the lid on. And make sure that it is in the locked position, not the venting. And that's going to build up pressure and start cooking. And we'll come back when the bone broth is done. So this is what I ended up with. I got a half a gallon and a quart of broth. I didn't show this, but what we did was after the Instant Pot was done, I strained it using one of these mesh sieves. You can strain it even further. Some people like to get it a little bit more clear and get some more of the small particles out. You can use cheesecloth to do that if you like, but again, I'm not very fussy with my bone broth. I like it. It actually adds some flavor to it. But it's really simple. It's very easy, and it doesn't take much time at all. It just takes a little prep and a little bit of management of your leftovers. So there you go. That's how you make bone broth.